within underground, it's been proven it's not difficult to grow trees as plant, just like as if we were actually doing in the ground. And in a lot of cases now, the technology is such that people have a better understanding of how plant grows. And so you don't really need sunlight. You can create LED lighting that actually simulates sunlight for any plants that you want to grow underground. What is important is that if you're going to stay long in the underground, it's sometimes important to have some daylight doing it. And most of them actually have means and ways of bringing light underground to a series either of mirrors or direct skylight kind of this thing to connect the people living underground with the one outside. There's a certain underground facility that actually can beam you actually the environment that you see above ground and live into the ground, so that you feel that you're still actually above ground, but in reality you're actually underground. I'm not advocating that we should go underground for the sake of going underground or for saving land. If you want to actually have a very livable environment, as much as possible, I'm quite sure when you open the window, you like to see the trees and the birds chirping. You don't want to see opening, you see the roads, you see a sewage treatment plant, you see the chimneys from some of this industry. Anything that's pollutive and anything that is air, noise, disturbance should ultimately go underground. If we're looking for the quality environment that we want. Rock. Really, rock is actually very strong. Anything that built into the rock, above it you can take anything as well. Quite a few of the MRT lines, they are passing underneath buildings, and the buildings are still there. They're not stopping anybody from building. And this is the reason why an underground master plan is necessary, so they can start to do stacking of what needs to go where, and so that any conflict, you try to do it earlier. For example, if one were to look at how deep the power foundations will go, then naturally you may want your tunnel to go deeper. Anything that needs to go underground, go deeper. But in the western part where you actually have rocks and all this, you can actually build a tunnel just below your building. In those cases, you don't need very deep piles, and below the ground you can immediately stack it. And the best use of space is in structure. Your road is on top, expressway is below, your cable tunnels, your utility tunnels all can just be below, and each of them will not interfere with another. And again, the way that the LTA has done in all the underground construction has shown that you can actually do construction even below buildings. If you know that you're going to have something in future, they can actually strengthen the ground around them, put in pre-foundation so that essentially you just need to come and build on top of it. An example is actually the Orchard Station. Orchard Station was built before Eon was even there. But because of the foresight that they know there's going to be a potential building, they provide all the foundations, and then Eon came along and then they built the commercial shopping center, well integrated with the Orchard Station. So these are all possibilities which I don't think is difficult. The idea is not to come up with a perfect master plan. It's just like in the case of URA, there are two-dimension master plan. It is a concept, but every 5 years they took a review of it to see what makes sense now and what's in. Because 40 to 50 years time, you can have a concept, but you do not know how technology is going to change. But the idea is to make sure that you have some plan, and then you try to protect some of these potential areas to put in something, areas that you need access to get to the underground. And I think that's where the master plan serves. But it should not be a very static plan. Any underground master plan should always be dynamic, because conditions change. Sometimes you may have intention of putting a line here, but either the density changes or the conditions doesn't allow you to go through here and there. Then that's where that flexibility to change must be there. This bother me. Something that I want to see. First is this commons, mother of all common services tunnel. I wish that we could just put all our services into one. And the space is big enough for any maintenance. But to do that, of course, this had to have a lot of foresight thinking. So while all the agencies are doing it now, my sense is that in another 20, 30 years, this will be aging infrastructure. You'll be thinking about replacement. You're thinking about how to do it. But if we start very at the beginning to see that we can have a big tunnel that you can actually put in all utilities, then I think in some way we will go a long way into trying to conserve some of our land. Right now, you can see that the cable tunnel, the LRT tunnel, and the DTSS, they're basically all borrowing the same space, But it's a cost to have one individual tunnel, and it doesn't cost a lot more by having a big tunnel and then segmentizing it, and then allowing different agencies to own this thing. It's been done in Japan, done in many places where they're very urbanized and very tight for space. So our agencies must work together, and I hope that URA, with being a lead agency in planning, concept planning, will bring all this on board. That in the next 30 to 40 years as my infrastructure start to grow, where do I put it? Where do I put the future infrastructure? And I should plan now, and I should bring out the agencies to come in to start discussing in the longer term, how do we do it. You don't have all agency at the same time, but you can actually leave space for them that when they actually need to bring in their new infrastructure, there's always this tunnel to do it. And beyond what we are doing, I think there's other areas like refuse collection and all this. These are all things that can go. Things like, as I mentioned also, cargo collection and all this. There are all possibilities. You have a big tunnel, that can run together. And I think that certainly is, to me, a very efficient use of the space. The other one I always have been advocating is really to create an underground city. But this, of course, the only one feasible, of course, is actually in Orchard and Marina, where there's enough of catchment and enough of GFA to actually make it happen. People are talking about Orchard Road now is getting a little bit old, aged, nothing exciting. And my sense is that you can actually revitalize it, as people have seen in Montreal and all this. And by building an underground network of connecting basement, connecting tunnels to link from Orchard all the way to Marina, one can actually walk through it. I think it's not only good for Singaporeans, it's also good for international visitors, where they are always concerned about the heat and the climate that they have. But it doesn't mean that all has to be a shopping centre. As Montreal, the resort, there are museums, there are 4 universities in Montreal underground, and there are many other facilities, entertainment, so that you can try to put it, because Singapore is still a very hot place. Regarding the air condition, we can certainly look towards more efficient ways of building aircon. And in areas where people are transient, you don't need the kind of air conditioned system that when something cold enough for people to walk or move around is certainly feasible. And so these are the 2 projects I hope to see that can happen in my lifetime.